live near me, then you'll also be experiencing unseasonably warm autumn weather. So this will still be a seasonally appropriate outfit. But maybe you live in the southern hemisphere, like Australia. It's spring there, I think. Have you ever had some fabric that you loved just because of the pattern and you had no idea how to use it when you bought it, but you bought it anyways because that's what we're going to do with the sundress? I found some cat in the garden themed cotton fabric and I bought it on a whim, and now we're going to make a sundress and you're going to help me. Once again, I made a pattern from clothes that I already owned, continuing to make the process of sewing far more difficult for myself than it needs to be. However, I did use a pre-made pattern for the skirt, so the bodice was the only tricky bit here. I'm going to be honest with you, we're going to start with the back because it's easier. Well, maybe. It looks like it has a tiny bit of an angle. Nah, it's probably fine. For back panels, whenever you're doing smocking or shirring, whatever you want to call it, you have to have 1.5 times the total length of whatever you're going to be doing. So for this, because I don't want to do this in my head, it's 1.5. It's going to be 10.5 in total length across, but the width this width, the scrunch goes in, it doesn't go down. So that's the math. Also, quick question, people talk about Christmas in Australia being summertime all the time, right? But like, what about Halloween being in like the spring? Like happy blossoming trees, but spooky All Hallows Eve vibes. Please can somebody let me know? I have questions. I cut out the bodice pattern on both the pattern cotton and on some lining fabric, but didn't cut lining fabric for the shirred smocked back panel or for the skirt. I later did decide that it might be a good idea to add lining fabric into the skirt. Depending on the fabric you use, it may seem more sheer than others. This particular fabric is a white base with blue pattern on top, and it just seemed like it might do with lining fabric, and it might be better with that, but I didn't do it, so that's not going to be in here. And for the back panel, you do not need lining fabric. It will make the process so much more difficult for you. Don't do it. It's so warm now. Hi. It's floor time. Why am I out here? Why am I doing this? I don't know. You tell me. Something kept poking me. Hope you can see that. This is one of the most aggressive graspers I have seen in a while. Okay, well, we did it. That was floor time. Floor time's over now. We can go inside. I was also out here for 4 hours. I was only planning to be out here for 2. So anytime I predict time, I need to double it. It has never been the time that I thought it was going to be. Okay, let's get started making the bodice. For whatever reason, I chose to attach my lining pieces with French seams directly to each bodice panel piece and then attach them together to create the bodice, which does eat up seam allowance and can make the bodice seem a little bit more chunky than necessary. You don't have to do it this way. Honestly, I'd recommend you not do it this way, but it's what I did, so yeah. Okay. Once you've completed the arduous task of making 5 French seamed panels, you can iron the panels flat and then sew them right sides together to create the bodice. Y'all, do I really need to explain to you how to sew skirt panels together at this point? No? Awesome. Then can we return to the topic of Australia briefly and discuss the massive baby penguin? Is he named Pesto? I feel like I'm not on the right side of social media because I saw one post about him earlier in the summer and then nothing else. That is honestly the only content I wish to ascribe to right now. Election season? I don't know her. But seriously, do go out and vote. Your voice matters. I just really dislike watching everybody at each other's throats because of politics, and if I could avoid the drama while still being an educated voter, believe me, I would. Aside from voting, I really don't know why we're bringing up Australia so much in this video. How's Madagascar doing these days? I really don't know a lot about Madagascar aside from the fact that they have lemurs. This may seem off topic, but I did recently catch a ringtail cat in a countryside building. I don't know why I'm making it sound so sketchy. It was a house. But honestly, they look so much like lemurs. They are not related to lemurs, like, at all. They are very, very much not. I think they're more closely related to raccoons, which is kind of confusing because raccoons in slang get referred to as ringtails, but a ringtail cat is a different creature entirely. If you don't know what a ringtail cat is, I'll put in pictures. But yeah, anyways, they look a lot like lemurs, but they're not really related to lemurs at all, but they're really cute. Anyways, if you ever see one, I don't know, tell your friends. Oh, and just in case you missed what we were doing while I was talking about lemurs and ringtails, I made some pockets out of the lining fabric and attached them to the skirt before I finished up sewing up the side seams of the skirt itself. I also put together an elastic channel that's about 1 centimeter wide for maybe half a centimeter wide elastic, and then threaded my elastic through the channel, attached it with a hand stitch, and then what do you know, the skirt has perfect scrunch, no pleating needed. Also, you would not believe how many takes it just took for me to say threaded clearly. We're gonna hand wind some elastic thread onto the bobbin. Oh. This is my least favorite part. I'm gonna tuck that back there. Wow, I don't think you can even see the ingenuity of that. There we go. When you wind, To hold it taut would be to like stretch it like that, but you don't want it to be, you don't want to do it like that and wrap. Like that's too much. But it won't mess anything up to have a little tension on your elastic. There we go. We got a bobbin. You're leaving your top thread the same. You're not using the elastic on the top. There it is. Okay, moment of truth. Did we do it? Ah, we did it! We did it! Okay, I think you need to have pattern side up. Hope for the best, my man. I probably should have finished that upper seam. I sure didn't though, did I? Should I do that real quick? You think? Should I? Yeah, I probably should. One more time, I promise we got it right this time. Okay, here we go. We are not doing something correct. Something is stuck currently. That's obviously not right. Oh, don't cut a hole, don't cut a hole, don't cut a hole. Okay, where'd we go wrong? So many places. I don't think I had a long enough stitch length, my friends. That's on me. To be fair, one of the things I watched was just like, oh yeah, you just put it in there and you go. And I was like, oh wow, that's great. I can do that. Little did I know, I could in fact not do that. Try again. I liked that they told me you should test this out on a scrap piece of fabric. And I just went, no. I think not. Are we going? Are we crinkling? I want it to crinkle more though. Okay kids, let's try something. A separate presser foot, which is the one I was looking for. Disengage. Disengage. There we go. That'll give us a wider stitch length. We'll try 4. If you don't make the sound, it doesn't work. Start 1 stitch. Reverse. Let's go. That doesn't look ruffled to me. Well, I mean, it did ruffle. I know what I'm doing now. Okay. Everybody ready? Let's go. The bread, we're getting it. This is it. 1 stitch. Reverse, reverse. Stop talking. You know, I heard some advice after making this that holding a finger behind the fabric while you're sewing the seam will help bunch the fabric and assist the scrunch, since this action will help neutralize the flattening stretch that the feed dogs cause as they pull the fabric through the machine. But I haven't tried it, so don't quote me on this. I have no idea. My degrees are in things that are not this. Cue about 30 minutes of me sewing in straight lines to create the shirred panel, and is anybody else bored of this? Can we just fast forward a little bit to where I start to problem solve? No? We need this part for context? And what, you want me to make it entertaining too? Ugh, fine. Wait a second. That's looking really good though. Isn't that's nice. The amount of wasps I killed during the filming of this video as well, astronomical. And let me tell you something. I broke out the wasp spray indoors singularly because the amount of wasps I had to kill was a minimum of 5 each time I was outside for anything during this project. We've had wasps cohabitating nests with completely different types of wasps this year too. I didn't even know that was possible. I also saw a spider dragging away and eating a wasp when I stepped out the door one morning. But I don't normally recommend using wasp spray indoors, much less in a finished building. You want to wipe down anything that you spray afterwards because it can literally strip the paint off the walls, and also it's poison, so like, yeah. But to be honest, I will smack a wasp down with a dustpan. I'm not quite as brave as my old dance teacher though. Whenever we would practice outside, we had tons of wasps that would come buzz nearby, and she would sit on a picnic table with a fly swatter and literally smack them out of the air and then stomp on them. Mind you, this woman is like 5'1" max. It was terrifying and I love her for it. I am not nearly as brave as her when it comes to killing wasps. I will smack them down, but only if they've landed somewhere that I am certain I can kill them in one go. Otherwise, it's none of my business and I'm not messing with them. Okay, we've hit a bit of a snag, which is entirely my own fault. What I didn't do was double measure, and I didn't stretch the smocked portion of the other dress. So, flaw in that plan. But yeah, I was like, this is looking like tight, you know? Like, this is probably fine if I had a zipper. But in terms of something that you're gonna have to pull over your head, it's gonna be a problem. 2-dimensionally, sure, but but 3-dimensionally, not quite. So that's cool. That's fine. What I'm gonna do to make it easier on myself is take out the piece that I just put in and make a longer smocked portion. First, I'm gonna measure and see what the circumference around of this actually is. We'll test out what that is compared to my actual measurement. Okay, like max 15.5. Okay, so 28 and a half. So I'm gonna add to this, I think, probably 4.5 inches. But remember, I've got to 1.5 that as well. Let me do some math. I'll come back. If we're gonna add 4.5 inches, 1.5, it's gonna be 6.75-ish. So 6 3/4. I just rounded that to 17 inches. We're just gonna do it like that, and then add a little seam allowance as well, and then we're just gonna go for it. We're gonna put it back in and hopefully it'll be big enough and it'll be perfect and no problemo.
This is a really awkward angle. I hope this is actually usable footage.
And here's the part you were waiting for, where I have to undo all my hard-won work and redo the exact same process just on a slightly longer piece of fabric. I guess I should actually explain how I'm shirring the fabric while we're here, no? Take your panel and finish all the edges in whatever way you see fit, ensuring that the top panel edge is a rolled hem or another kind of fully finished seam, but the sides and the bottom can be serged for all I care. They're just getting sewn into the other panels and the skirt, so it doesn't really matter as long as the fabric doesn't fray. Next, I want you to take your panel and mark it with fabric chalk so that you have a straight line to follow. If you don't have fabric chalk, pray that you have a fabric with a linear pattern that you can follow. And if you don't have a linear pattern or fabric chalk, then you have my condolences. What you do next is highly technical stuff. You're going to take your normal bobbin thread and stick with me here. This is where it gets complicated. You're going to toss it to the side. You don't need that sucker. You're going to replace it with a bobbin hand wound with elastic thread. You're going to keep your top stitch thread the same. Small mercies, I am not asking you to rethread your whole machine. Check your stitch length is somewhere between 3.5 and 4, and a medium tension, which is any number of your choice between 5 to 7 out of 10. You're going to put your fabric on the machine with the presser foot down about a 1/2 centimeter from the top edge of your panel. Now the scary part is done. I want you to take a deep breath and do one straight stitch. Reverse over that stitch, and now all you're going to do is sew in a straight line all the way down your back panel, leaving at least a centimeter's worth of seam allowance on both sides. Every time you end a line of stitches, be sure to reverse at least one stitch over at the start and end of the line before you turn your fabric, going down 2 to 3 stitches and starting a new line. You can completely disconnect and cut the thread each line if you so choose. It's genuinely up to you and your personal preference. Some people think it looks cleaner that way. Some people claim it holds up better if you keep the elastic going in one long continuous stitch. But that's if you listen to rumors. Maybe their opinions matter. Maybe they don't. I don't know anything. I'm not an expert. Follow your heart or something. Once you've done your level best to maintain your sanity while also keeping your stitch line as straight as possible, there are actual sewing attachments for this, you know. Then you can finish your last row, heave a sigh of relief that this purgatory is finally complete, and add the panel in to complete your bodice and attach it to your skirt.
Now we actually are learning and having fun. This I like. And also I figured out what was going on. It was the tension with the upper portion. I think because there's a metal piece on this, I think I confused myself on which side it needs to be on, but when it goes through, there's a metal piece on this little hook, and so you're supposed to hook it around the hook, but then click it down, and then when you go forward, there's another metal hook towards the front, and you have to hook it on the opposite side, on that one. But the instruction manual for this actual machine doesn't clearly state that you need to put it on one side or the other. It just says, hook it, and you're like, okay. And I don't even think it says that. I think it says look at the images, and you look at the images and the images are unclear. And you're like, okay, sick. Can figure that out. But we got it. We did it. Yay!
Ah yes, the tie straps. I cut a little fabric into a rectangle with a rounded X-Acto knife edge on one side. I cut on a fold so I didn't have to worry about making a pattern that was perfectly symmetrical, and I cut 4 pieces out about 12 inches, or about 2 pixie sticks if you're averse to measuring tapes, in length. You're going to take your chunky arrow sign fabric strips and lay them out folded in half, right side facing outward, pin the wrong sides together, and then sew down a seam around the open, non-folded edge, leaving the squared end open and the rounded edge sewn together. Trim off the excess seam allowance, then flip the fabric tube inside out and do another seam the exact same way to hide your previous seam. Flip right side out. Look at that. You've now done French seams on your tie straps. I did this at the same time as when I attached the strap to the dress, but you can do it before if you want. If you don't have a dress form on hand, sorry that I left Geraldine in the shed for this project, I used myself as the stand-in mannequin and tried on the bodice to figure out where I needed to pin the straps. Just be careful not to pin yourself and you should be fine. Do this 4 times and by the time you start to get bored of the repetition of each task, you'll almost be done. To finish, you'll need to be sure that you've hemmed your skirt. But other than that, you're ready to wear and wander. Alrighty. It's real humid, so I don't know what my hair's gonna do. I just know that it's gonna be fluffy, so. We did another dress. Wow. Wow. The fabric was cats in a garden theme, and my niece decided she was having a cat-themed birthday party, so perfect accoutrement. I was told to come on theme. I did. She thought it was fun. So I did French seams again. Very useful, very helpful. The smocking was really fun.
I enjoyed that. It was hard to figure out the process. A lot of the things that I found that were resources were just, hey, buy fabric that is already smocked. And I was like, that's... So I don't have fabric that's already smocked. We got it fixed. I figured it out. It was really easy, and I am excited that I learned a new skill. I love the experience of learning. That's the thing. Like, that's kind of what this is that like I like trying things out. I don't need to be an expert to learn, you know, a new thing. If I constantly tell myself that my experience level is lower than it needs to be to do something, then I'm just gonna completely cut myself off from ever trying. I like doing things with skills that I already have. Like, I already knew how to sew, so it's not that scary to add another element of sewing with elastic, you know? I'm the only person standing in my way in that instance, if that makes any sense at all. But I had fun with this project. The only thing I would probably change is maybe I didn't do any lining fabric underneath the skirt. It might help with the pattern looking, because like you can kind of tell, I know that it's against the bodice, so it's kind of hard to see exactly, but like the upper portion, at least in this lighting, I don't know if it'll show up on camera, the pattern is a lot more visible. It's a little bit starker, and that's because it has a white lining fabric underneath, and that's just helping the blue come out more. But again, I don't need it. I just feel like it would be nice. I don't know, man. It does have pockets. We love pockets. I did the tie straps. I don't actually have anything else that has a tie strap like that. I know it was a big style a couple years ago, maybe. I don't know, maybe it's still in. I really couldn't tell you. I don't think I would buy something with that. However, making something with that, I dug it. I enjoyed it. And it's kind of fun. It's just a little different. What else do I need to tell you? Oh, the elastic waistband. That was something new. I haven't done that in a while, and I definitely confused myself a little bit. But yeah, we're just gonna pretend we're confident and go with it. There was a wasp in here yesterday after I finished doing stuff, and I am ever so conscious that it is still there. It's the anxiety of the wasp being in here with me. We're trapped together. I still like it. I think it looks really good. I was excited that I made it. That is pretty much everything else that I need to say. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. I don't know exactly what we're going to be doing next time, but we'll find out soon. Bye. Am I mentally stable? No. What kind of question is that? Does somebody that's mentally stable do this for fun? On a weekday? No. Oh, no, I got hair in my mouth. Oops. It's so messy. It's just because I'm sweating. Okay.